I always tell the guys, especially the guys I grew up with, I mean, as we got into our 40s and stuff, they were all starting to lose their hair. I mean, half of them are half bald now, and I've still got that kind of hair. My wife likes it white, so she didn't care.
No issues then. Andy, appreciate the phone call this morning. More phone calls on this, and we'll get to Tiger baseball. Comparison with the Royals, not kind. It's 97.1.
Brought to you by CNL Ward. Call 1-800-NEW-DECK. Reese Olson is okay after taking a smoked line drive off of his hip, but the Tigers' pen was not able to hold things together as they dropped an 8-3 game in their opener against the Royals. Michael Wacha kept the Detroit Bats guessing with 7 innings of 2-run ball. One of those runs was a Kerry Carpenter home run, his 6th of the season. He and Colt Keith combined for 5 of the Tigers' 7 hits. To the ice, it was win or go home in Vancouver, where the Oilers took control early. As heard on ESPN, the Canucks would fight back but fall short at home, suffering a 3-2 loss that ends their run. So next, it will be Oilers versus Stars. Red Wings star Lucas Raymonds, he's still powering Team Sweden in the Worlds. He had a goal and an assist in their 3-2 victory over France. Raymond has 3 total goals for the tournament in 6 games. Team USA also coming up to play in just over an hour out in the Czech Republic. As OTAs begin around the NFL, Lions division foe Minnesota, they had star wide receiver Justin Jefferson absent from their gatherings. He's in the middle of a contract negotiation after Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid by Detroit. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
Whole lot of boo-hoo on the ticket text. One gray hair, much better than receding hair. It's a common theme this morning on the ticket text. My wife found one gray hair on my head. Brought it up and said, this is a big deal. Like, this part of getting older. Do guys dye their hair? Do women want guys dyeing their hair? Or do you just embrace the look, the salt and pepper, the distinguished look? That's the route I'd like to go. Now, if my whole head was gray in my early 30s, maybe I would reevaluate. But I don't think I'm in any danger of that. We want to get to the ticket text and the phone calls, and then we're going to talk Tiger baseball. They lost last night to the Royals. I want to do a side-by-side comparison. Bill, you're on 97.1. Bill's hanging out in the thumb. You're on 97.1 The Ticket.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, good. I just got to let you guys know, when I started going gray, I just told everybody my hair was chrome. It's chrome until you're like 50 years old, and then you're going to be gray. And it worked for a while. But everybody told me, you're gray anyways. What the hell? I said, I'm still going to be chrome, until I get older. So you can pass it off as chrome for now. That's all.
Okay, yeah. John, you like chrome?
You can call it whatever you want.
It's just a little sparkle.
Yeah. Little sparkle.
Yeah.
A
little flare.
Yeah,
little
exactly.
Highlight. It doesn't bother me. And honestly, most of the dudes I know, they could care less. It's the least of their worries.
Right. All right, let's talk about our baseball team. Plenty of worries there. I want to do a side-by-side. The Royals last season were a 56-win baseball team. I didn't misspeak. They won 56 games. They lost 100 ball games. They spent more money in one offseason than they ever have. $100 million on additions, mostly pitching. And that doesn't count the investment they made to Bobby Witt Jr. But they spent some money. They developed some position players, and then they filled out the roster with what they needed, pitching, by spending money in a way that organization never has. The result, pretty damn good baseball team. 30-19, 11 games over 500, well on their way to surpassing last year's win total, and a team that's in the playoffs right now, challenging in the AL Central.
Well, they're challenging in the AL Central, and even if they don't catch the Guardians, they're 5 games above the cut line for the wild card spot. And it feels like that margin is only going to continue to grow.
But then you go side by side with our Detroit Tigers, who had one clear deficiency. For the Royals, it was pitching. For the Tigers, it was hitting. The Tigers didn't add payroll. The Tigers slashed payroll. Remember, can't block those young bats who still aren't hitting. And they are now one game below 500. They are not in a wild card spot. They're 7.5 games out in the division. They're in 4th place in the AL Central. And it's this painful reality, like, wait, the cheap Royals are spending money? The Royals have won a World Series more recently than the Tigers have even made the playoffs. And the Royals are out here throwing around some money when the Tigers were unwilling to. Is it any surprise then that the Royals are taking advantage and the Tigers are languishing? That the Tigers are sitting there right around 500 and we're going to end up doing the conversation we've done the last several summers, which is, gee, John, what do you think they can get for Jack Flaherty? 248. Like, I didn't want us to be here. I don't fans are sick of being here. But you're watching the Royals of all teams figure it out before Detroit does.
Well, and they figured it out. They figured out how to spend money. And
to be clear, not all the players they added were good players, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. They added a couple starters, a couple bullpen pieces. Detroit wasn't interested in making those kind of moves this offseason.
Well, did they need to make bullpen moves?
No, my point is the equivalent to bats.
Yeah, they could have added a couple of bats. And we've talked about this since the beginning of the season, before the season. What was our expectation for this offense? It was going to be a team that was led by pitching, and they didn't go out, and you could insert any name that we talked about before the season. And even as the season began, JD Martinez hadn't started or signed with anybody, and they could have added bats. They could have added someone and just gotten to the payroll that they had last year. Yes, that is a clear argument of, in Kansas City, they went out and spent some money. They are much improved from they were last year. The Detroit Tigers didn't spend any money, and they're basically relegated to the same team they were last year. Maybe slightly better, but what does that mean if you're not contending for a playoff spot? Now, I will say this. They're only one game back of a wild card spot. We're way too early to be talking about wild card because there's so much baseball to be played. And the Tigers haven't had any pitchers miss meaningful time on the mound. Now, we don't think Reese Olson's going to miss much time, if any. And Kenta Maeda has missed 2 starts because of an illness. Matt Manning has come up and performed well. Didn't pitch well the last time he was on the mound, but they have been able to stay where they are and still compete for and be in the running for a wild card spot because they have good pitching. What happens when that pitching's not there? That's going to be the big concern, is all of a sudden you're one game back, and then what if Skubal has to miss a start, or if Mize has to miss a start or 2 starts? Now all of a sudden you start creeping back 3, 4, 5 games, and it becomes an insurmountable mountain to come over.
Well, that's where I think this is headed, though, is they're going to slowly, it's not going to happen quickly. The pitching is going to stabilize them, but slowly but surely they'll find their way to, 8, 10, 12 games out in the division, and the deadline will roll around, and the right thing to do is going to be sell Jack Flaherty, and if Canna's hitting a little bit as an older player on a short-term deal, you're probably trading Canna too, restocking the farm system, churn, right? That's going to be the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that the Kansas City Royals are a more put-together organization.
Well, you could say it's embarrassing. You could also say that, what happens, what's your reaction going to be if they're trying to figure out who the young bats are that they're going to be able to rely on moving forward? And if it's not everybody if it's not Torkelson, they go out this next offseason and spend a little bit of money to bring in somebody to replace him. Because do you have anybody coming up in the system that you think could be a 30 to 40 home run guy that's going to be your first baseman or DH?
No, unless Jace Young fails at third, and then he gets
then
relegated over the other side of the infield. He's drafted as like a second base, first base DH. They're trying to make it work at third. Yeah, he'd be the only other guy I'd mention in the system. But, John, okay, I'll do it this way. I'll judge Harris the way that he wants to be judged. Like, we've been judging them by wins and losses. Silly us, right? He wants to judge it by player development. They didn't want to block these guys. That was his edict going into the season. Has Torque developed?
No. He's basically at the same spot he was at this point last year.
Has Parker Meadows developed?
No, he's back down in Toledo.
Okay. Cole Keith, he's been better lately.
Yeah. Still
no home runs, still a lot of ground balls. Still too early to say that he has developed. He's taken his lumps this year.
Well, he has, but at some point this year, he's at a different spot, and I'm going to judge him differently than Spencer Torkelson.
Well,
this is Spencer Torkelson's third year.
Well, they didn't pay
him. Yeah, and we're seeing over the last weekend the glimpses of why you could justify the contract. Now, if he doesn't get any better, sure, we'll sit here and have this conversation.
Anybody else I'm missing? I'll give him Perez. Wenzel Perez. I feel like he's been a bright spot, maybe a secret, that an unexpected surprise for this team. Okay. But I don't feel like this has been a year of clear-cut development taking place either. Even judging Scott Harris by his rubric, I would not give him a passing grade.
No, because they're betting on young bats, and that's not a great bet to make, because you're not going to hit on all of them. No pun intended. You're just not. And if Torkelson can't find a way to be a better hit for average guy or find a way to have more power, then you could sit there and say, well, okay, I can accept being 230, 240 if you're going to be a 40 home run, 9,500 RBI guy. But he's not anywhere near either of those.
And meanwhile, the Royals have a pretty big chip in Bobby Witt Jr. that they drafted in the first round that's blossoming this season, that they paid, that they're invested in. I use the word embarrassing. You guys can tell me what you think. 248-539-9797. We want to hear from Tiger fans on the comparison between the Royals and the Tigers and how these two teams have flipped from 56 wins to division contenders in one offseason, spending some money.
And the name you didn't mention that I'm starting to get worried about is Green. He's not even hitting 250. I know he's in a slump right now, and I'm starting to wonder what kind of player, what's his ceiling, and what kind of player is he? They're moving him all over the lineup. I still think he should probably be hitting second. I think that's actually where he belongs, with a true, real leadoff hitter in front of him.
But does AJ have the luxury or the ability to hit him in one spot every time?
No,
and that's why it's a work in progress. I'm just, you look at a guy like Witt, and he was in the same draft as Green, and went, 3 picks higher.
Yeah, Witt was number 2.
And I don't expect him, maybe to be quite there yet. Guys blossom at different, but I'm kind of starting to wonder, when's it going to happen here? Is Riley Green, I know we talked a month ago that he was a blossoming star because he was off to such a good start. So, this could be knee-jerk overreaction. I just don't think, I guess what I'm saying is I don't believe it's a given that he's an above-average player. And that's scary.
Right, because you're trying to figure out when's it going to happen. When's it going to happen for Riley Green? When's it going to happen for Spencer Torkelson? When's it going to happen for Colt Keith? When's it going to happen for Parker Meadows? You keep waiting, and it's just not happening.
But we thought it was going to happen with Green, and that's why I'm actually that's where the concern's at.
Well, meanwhile, you're putting more wear and tear on all these young arms, and we know that tomorrow's not a given with young arms. You got a top 10, maybe even top 5 rotation when everybody's clicking. You have a bona fide ace Cy Young winner on the front end of the rotation, and while they're just throwing into the wind, you're going to let another year go by, and then maybe you find out that none of these guys are legit. Or maybe it's just Riley Green, because I have not soured on him really at all.
I'm not souring. I'm getting concerned.
Okay.
I think those are two different things.
My point would be maybe only find one hitter in this whole thing, and they would go, well, look at us. We used this year to evaluate that we aren't any good. Well, what's the solution then? You're going to have to start developing more position players. You're going to waste all these pitchers because they're all going to throw their arms out by the time you're ready to win again. And what? It's another rebuild of a rebuild of a rebuild.
Well, and the concern is if you're waiting for it to happen and you come away with one hitter, all right, well, what are you going to do next year? Are you going to go fill those spots in free agency with bats? Or are you going to continue to say, well, we're going to give Colt Keith more time, which I think they will. Are they going to give Spencer Torkelson more time? Are they going to again think Parker Meadows? Well, okay, it was a little bit early, came up, didn't pass the test. Then next year they're going to give him more time. What? How much time do you give him?
248-539-9797. We'll get some thoughts on the Tigers in the mix. We have a question for the Stanley Cup, and we are going to ask Detroiters, death not an option to make a tough decision. That's 9:35. It's 97.1.
Looking for ways to level up your fitness? Well, the YMCA is always welcoming new members with no contract and no joiner fees. And I'm loving the YMCA family membership with access to indoor pools, less meals, group fitness, hundreds of machines, all with free child watch while you work out and for less than $3 a day. And today you can go and try the Y for free. Visit any of the 7 Metro Detroit locations and get a free guest pass. Learn more at ymcadetroit.org and find what moves you today.
why you'd put a lefty in to face him, I don't know. But Wentz wasn't getting anybody out. Perez, 10-pitch battle, 400-foot bomb. Busted open that game. Royals beat the Tigers last night. Hey, by the way, people are pointing out the Joe Burrow hair may be fake.
Oh, it's
maybe one of those AI
generated.
Yeah, the internet was running with it yesterday.
I hope so. Yeah. It's not a good look.
Kind of looked like Anakin Skywalker from the Star Wars, Hayden Christensen, the actor.
Yeah. I disagree. It's so bad that it would have been good for the league. And he just lets it go the entire year. I mean, he literally looked to me. I know Anakin, you said. He looked like he could sign up for a bouncer at Roadhouse.
Yeah, put it in the ponytail.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the subject of hair, Jerry in Farmington, you want to weigh in? We were talking about it earlier. You're on 97.1.
Hey, good morning, lady and gentlemen. I'm in my 50s. I've got a semi-full head of hair. My job was cut. I got numerous interviews, but no luck. So I dipped the morning I was to have another one. And I got the job.
Age discrimination.
Well, not
me,
age, but just hair.
Well, but
they're associating the gray with
Jerry,
age.
did you feel like you looked younger by having no gray hair?
I'll tell you what. I look in the mirror now because I'm keeping that look. I sort of have to. But I really want to now because it more matches how I feel inside. I don't feel like I'm in my 50s. I feel like I'm in, my 20s, many a time in the inside.
Good for you.
Good, yeah,
that's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's always nice to be employed, too.
Yeah, no, believe me, this whole thing, it was just, I read some article in the ARP magazine, and I decided, well, what the heck, it's not going to hurt, and it sure didn't.
It actually helped you.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, well, Jerry, appreciate the phone call. What are you making a face for?
Well, he feels 20, but he's reading the AARP magazine? Well, come on.
No. Only looking at the pictures.
AARP would tell you they're for people under 65 as well. Couple texts on the Tigers. The Royals have won actually 2 World Series since the Tigers lasted, one in 85 and one in 2015. They are a way better organization. People pointing out the Tigers are going to need to blow it up again. The rebuild clock restarted when Harris took over. Everyone besides Green may be sold off. We'll put a pin in that because at 9:35 we're going to do That's Not an Option.
Would you rather?
Would you rather with Detroit sports and 2 teams that may need to hit that reset button.
Yeah. Heather went full savage again.
Oh, you were thinking the same thing.
How do you know what I was thinking?
I don't know, but you were thinking something like that. Oh, no. It took me a second when he said ARP. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. And I was like, oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I get it.
Quick note, Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Canada's last hope is now the Edmonton Oilers. They won Game 7 last night. They have not won a Stanley Cup since 93. I hope it continues. Are you rooting for a Canadian team?
No. I love it that the Cup has been south of the border for 31 years, and it should remain that way. It's just when you think about all of the hockey elite that come north of the border and the way that they discuss it and the way that they sometimes will talk down to us, I love the fact that even though a lot of the players are Canadian and the Cup will be celebrated in many countries, the fact that it resides in a franchise south of the border is at least a little bit of hilarity for me.
I want the Oilers to win because Stoney's in next week.
Oh.
And if the Oilers get eliminated, you know he's going to start the show with, "Whoa, Canada!" Shaking his head just like that. So maybe we'll just play that.
Yes.
Let's get to Heather.
Your hockey team is bad.
With the old man gyrations. All right, Let's get to Heather with the news. Okay.
So the Detroit Zoo has unveiled its new wrap for the iconic water tower.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks good. So after sitting bare for just over a year, the new logo is going to feature several animals peeking their little faces out of the double O's of the word zoo. It looks really nice. It's going to be the fourth wrap to go on display in the zoo's nearly 100-year history. They say it's going to be installed over the next 2 weeks. So from one view, there's a tiger, there's a flamingo, a giraffe. It's kind of like a rainforest look in the background with the Detroit Zoo. It looks nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. If you want to be part of the grand reopening festivities of the Michigan Central Station, you need to go register for tickets. You don't think it looks that good?
No, he made a face. I like it better than the old one.
I like it. It looks, it
looks fine.
It looks good. Sorry, you made a smug face. So I was just trying to...
His like, I don't know how to describe his face. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so if
ruggedly handsome is one way you could describe
Not what I would have used.
perfectly average. Okay.
Yeah. There comes the savage again. Be careful
Anyway,
today.
look out.
On the prowl.
If you want to go be part of the whole grand reopening festivities, which is going to be really cool, of the Michigan Central Station, you need to go online and register today at noon, because it's basically first come, first serve basis for all the festivities. So the big concert that I think is going to be pretty sweet, because they haven't actually unveiled who is going to be performing, but they say it's going to be some of Detroit's biggest stars. That's on June 6th, 90-minute show. It's outdoors, out in front of the station. You got to register for tickets there. Gates open at 6, show goes on at 8:30. Then if you want to go and do those cool tours and get inside the building, you have to register for tickets there. Those will go on between June 7th through the 16th. They do have one event that you don't have to register for at all for the same dates. It's this open outdoors is what it's called. And it's basically you can just go out on the lawn there, and they're going to have a lot of different activities, entertainment, food, beverages, merchandise, things like that. So you have to go to michigancentral.com/open to register.
Today at noon.
Congrats to Eminem's daughter, Haley Jade. She got married over the weekend. She tied the knot, marrying her longtime boyfriend at this beautiful venue in Battle Creek. Eminem was, of course, there at the ceremony. There's photos of them on the big day. They shared a dance together, of course, like you typically do at a wedding. The daddy. Are you looking forward to that, John? That's going to be like
handing my daughter off to another man. Not particularly.
Well, I guess when you say it like that, but I'm just like, it's such a monumental moment.
Yeah, there's the daddy-daughter dance.
Yeah,
you can see the photos.
It's just what you do at the wedding, the daddy-daughter dance.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
As long as it's an approved guy, sure.
Well, I would hope it would
Do you
be.
approve of this guy?
so
Here's
too.
the photo of him. What do you think of him?
She's been basing off of what he looks like. What are you
Judges
talking about?
everybody. Come on. What do you think of him?
He looks like a nice guy.
He's tall.
Yeah.
That photo made Eminem. Well, how tall do you think Eminem is? He looks really little.
Short.
Yeah.
He looks shorter than his
I
daughter.
think he's kind of a little guy.
Is he? Yeah, he looks little. Anyway, it was like a star-studded event. 50 Cent was there, Dr. Dre. But it was also an intimate affair. It wasn't a massive wedding. Just absolutely beautiful, though. So congrats to her. I just saw that somebody died on a flight from London to Singapore after the flight encountered severe turbulence. 30 other people were injured as well. The flight had to be diverted. They say it just dramatically dropped in everybody not wearing their seatbelts.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Who are these people not wearing their seatbelts?
Oh, who?
Come on.
So many. Who?
You wear your
I
seatbelt
was
when
gonna
you're on a
say,
plane, especially during turbulence. They tell you. You guys don't wear your seatbelts on planes?
Take
Not
off and
usually,
landing,
no.
and if it's a charter, probably not even that.
Rule followers. Come on.
My head's not gonna hit the head of a plane at the top of the plane when we have turbulence.
I mean, if it's getting
hit my head a
bumpy,
number of
I'm
times,
going
and I've
to put my
survived all of
seatbelt
them
on
so
because I
far.
hate flying. But I typically don't wear one on a flight.
So what did this person die of?
Well, they say he had a heart condition. He was flying with his wife. But I think it's still, he was 73 years old. I don't know if he was one without a seatbelt on or not, if that contributed to it. But either way.
Was he fully gray, or did he color his hair?
You know.
I will say this: I do when they do the turbulence thing. I put it on. I don't wear it unless during the flight itself.
Yeah.
But if they do it, I will, because I'm like, it's the one time.
Like when that
John,
little
you're
seatbelt
risking
light
the one
goes
time,
on.
and you could also make an argument. Maybe you have hit your head too many times.
There's a great argument for that. There's no question. Yes.
Do you wear your seatbelt when you drive?
Yes.
Yes, because I hate the dinging.
But that's the only reason.
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
Do you wish
It
the
has
law
become,
would go away?
No, because it's a habit now. I go in and it's the first thing I do, even most of the time before I start my car.
Seatbelts save lives. Buckle up for safety. Buckle up.
Even on planes.
I only put my seatbelt on in my car when I'm about to have an accident.
Yes.
When it gets a little rocky, I put it on. Make sure it's there.
Yeah. See, turbulence doesn't bother me though, so I don't get concerned.
I hate flying, so as soon as it's like anything, it kind of feels like you're dropping or it gets shaky. I am like holding on to the.
Get the death grip.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, how tight are you putting that seatbelt? Because it's not that uncomfortable to just have it secured. You don't have to like.
Yeah, but I like to get up and walk around.
I move a lot. Like sometimes I'll sit normally. Sometimes I'll put my feet up on the seat. Sometimes I don't like having
Put your feet up on the seat.
Yeah. I either sit like this.
like you
Sometimes
sit
I'll
back.
sit like this. No, I'll sit like this. And I can sleep like this.
Oh, wow. That
Like I
seems
put my
very
knee, like
uncomfortable.
I could
I'm in
never-
like the
I mean-
fetal position.
Yeah,
and I can
sitting
like
up.
rest my head on my knees. Have you seen that trend where people are doing
Been a
this and then
long
putting
time
the
since I've been able to
seatbelts
get in that
around their
position.
ankles? Now that's dangerous and dumb. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like a story. It's like trending. There's people doing that.
People from New Mexico.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that is Heather with the news. Coming up next, death not an option. It's 97.1. Texter says, hopefully when John gives his daughter away, it will be to a man who follows seatbelt laws. Safety. It's important. 97.1.
Well, I mean, it is the law. Is it a law that you have to have? I know it's the airline rules, but is it a law that you have to have your seatbelt on while you are flying?
I don't think it's a law. I mean, they're not going to hand out tickets to people who aren't buckled up.
But they could refuse you future service, I would imagine.
They can?
I don't know if you don't follow their rules.
There'd be so many people who can't fly anymore if that was the case.
Well, how many people do you see that? Because they do come by and check your seatbelt before takeoff and before landing. Now, obviously,
they don't do anything about it, though.
No, I mean, sometimes they're like, ma'am, you need to buckle your seatbelt or turn your phone off or
But okay, what if
device.
you just say no? No, I don't want to.
Well, then you're unruly
Well, then you're making a case for getting kicked off because you're not.
That's my point. I'm not. Yeah, they're not going to just go. Passenger in row 17, seat D, isn't wearing their seatbelt. Like if they ask you to put your seatbelt on, you kind of have to at that point, right?
You get kicked off.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who don't and are not getting kicked off.
I know. So I got a random question out of this kind of tied to it. I honestly don't know the answer. I'm ashamed. I'm ignorant on it, so I'll admit it.
Oh, boy.
Do they have seatbelts on boats?
No.
I didn't think so.
Because when you're going down...
Exactly. Precisely.
Yes, you want to be able to...
You want to be stopped.
Not attached to... They have... Well, so the seatbelt would be the life jacket.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I just had the question. I didn't know if they actually had them or not.
When's the last time you were on a boat?
It's been years. Or I've been on boats a ton. I just wondered if it was something that had came
newer.
over the times because I'd never worn one, or anything. I just had the question. Like, were they there just if...
But nobody uses them type of thing? Yeah.
Right, yeah. No, there's no seatbelts, but there is...
It's your life jacket.
It's your life jacket, and you have to have as many life jackets as there are passengers on the boat.
Yes.
That's a law.
There's laws about that, for sure.
And kids, I can't remember, it's 7 and younger, I think is
have
the
to
age.
wear one at all times.
Yeah, because mine are above that. I think 7 and younger, they have to wear it at all times. 8 and above, they're basically treated like an adult. There has to be one that fits them.
I can't even imagine what the ticket texts are looking like after I asked that question.
Well, we may have time before the show ends. But what I would like reaction on is not, do boats have seatbelts? I would like to know the answer to a would you rather Detroit sports question. But I know how this works. Not the first day of radio. We probably will get more on boats and seatbelts. But I want to know of the two teams who I think are down bad in Detroit, the Pistons and I would argue the Tigers too. Which of these trades would you rather make? With the Pistons, we've seen the Pacers turn things around. These were nearly identical records 2 years ago. The Pacers are now in the Eastern Conference Finals. They traded away a 2-time All-Star. They traded away Sabonis to get Halliburton. And then they traded 3 first-round picks to get Pascal Siakam. They've been wheeling and dealing, and the Pistons are going to have to make some moves. Would you trade Cade Cunningham? Keep that in mind. If you're the Tigers, you have a stockpile of pitching that you are wasting. Tarek Skubal, when it's time to get paid, and it's coming up, is going to command $40 million a year. And let's say it's a 7, 8, maybe even a 10-year deal. It's Scott Boras, remember. Do you envision the Tigers, who are not competing, who are not spending money, handing Tarek Skubal a $400 million contract? Consider both options. Nobody wants to trade their best player, but you could get something for them. If those are the two choices, death not an option, would you rather trade Cade Cunningham or Tarek Skubal? John, your answer is?
I think you can get more in return for Skubal, and the impact would be greater, and the risk of paying a pitcher that over a 10-year, even 8-year, I don't even want to go above 7 years. I'm not even sure I want to go that high because the injury rate, if you're paying a guy that much, then you've got to at least feel you have a guy that is somewhat durable. And the freak accident, you get a line drive off the hip. Like you never know when that's going to happen. And we don't think Reese Olson's going to be down for that much. But that's where you run into an issue because we just got done with a contract for Miguel Cabrera, where everybody kept talking about how much of an albatross it was over the last 3, certainly the last 2 and last year of his contract. Do you want to put yourself in that same position with the pitcher that, 1, they're only going to pitch once every 5 games, and 2, he's already had 8 years ago a Tommy John surgery.
Mm-hmm.
How long does that last? What if he has it again and he's down another year or 18 months, or he misses because of when it happens, basically the span of 2 years?
Yeah.
You're going to be paying $80 million for nothing? And we're already bitching and moaning about how Chris Ilitch won't spend money. Can you imagine the pucker factor if he does spend $40 million on a pitcher? What's he willing to spend on a bat at that point?
Yeah, I think it's a question about what kind of baseball team they want to be, and we have evidence to suggest that they want to do it on the cheap, that they want to slash payroll. They had the choice this season to replace that Cabrera money and Eduardo Rodriguez money, and the payroll's lower. So I am skeptical that they are going to be willing to pay Tarek Skubal frontline, Cy Young, ace stuff. And if you offered him up, it's the black card, the Amex black card. You go grocery shopping and you can get whatever you want. Go to someone's minor league farm system and go, I'll take 2 of those, 1 of these. You got a major league ready bat. Let's throw them in the mix. Yep, I got it. Tarek Skubal will cover the cost. Whereas Cade Cunningham, you have the cap space, as we've been told repeatedly. You got to spend it on somebody. Cade's a lead guard. I need him to be healthy. But I think when he's healthy, he's shown you he can be at least a piece worth attempting a rebuild, right? We know the owner will pay him. We don't know the owner will pay Skubal. I think it's Cade is the guy I keep, and I think Skubal's the guy I trade. In a perfect world, I would keep both. In a perfect world, my baseball payroll wouldn't be shrinking. It would be competitive and thriving, and I would have a top 10 payroll, and I wouldn't be afraid to pay good baseball players. But I don't know that that's the case. So I think I would keep Cade and trade Skubal of the two in the scenario. 248-539-9797. Tom, what's your thought?
I'm in team definitely trade Skubal. I still think Cade. I don't think you can get for Cade for what Cade can become still. I think Cade can still become a perennial all-star. I don't think he can become one of the top 5 or 3 players in a game like I thought maybe he could when they got him. I think there's options in the draft. Actually, I really think Reed Shepherd would be a great draft here. And I actually think as we get closer to the draft, it's going to be fun to talk about because he played horrible against OU. Mm-hmm. So if you watched him play that one game, you think I'm an idiot. I actually think Reed Shepherd's a great example of a guy who can be the guard that can play the way Cade wants to. But you also don't build around a pitcher when it comes to this. And I think Skubal's age, 27, 8 years off Tommy John. A lot of people think he'll need another one. And I just think if he pitches like this to the All-Star break, the market you could potentially create for him in the return. But the thing is, if it's Skubal, you must get a bat that's it's a no-brainer. It's a no matter what. I guess so they would have to be proven in the majors to a degree.
Like a guy who's still in his early pre-arbitration years, who's proven he can hit at the major league level, or an elite special prospect hitter that you feel like is can't miss.
Yeah, the guys that almost like the guy we talked about some this morning, Bobby Witt.
Yeah,
Bobby Witt has been talked about from day one. You know, people thought he was going to be a really good pro, and he is. Now, is he going to be one of the best players in the game? That still remains to be seen, but he seems to be tracking that way. Something more than Riley Green. I mean,
right.
We've only, like we said earlier, it's got to be a guy that come in here and be your best hitter on your team next year potentially.
And if you trade Cade, to your point, the return, you're probably getting quantity, not quality. You're going to get picks, which we know lottery luck for the Pistons. It's a lousy system to begin with. It's probably not worth it. We'll get your thoughts, 248-539-9797. A would you rather? Would you rather trade Cade or Skubal? It's 97.1. Dan Dickerson's call. Tigers lose to the Royals last night. Back at it tonight. Casey Mize on the hill. Let's get to the phones. Our question today, would you rather trade Cade Cunningham or Tarek Skubal to jumpstart these Detroit teams who could use a little bit of a jolt? Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to trade their best players, right?
No, you don't want to be in a position to have to do that, but if you have glaring needs, you have shortcomings, which the Pistons,
no shortage of them.
Yeah, and obviously the Tigers have a need for bats. You got to at least entertain the idea. And then it comes down to, like the trade deadline last year with Erod, what type of deal maker is Scott Harris going to be? What type of magic can he run in regards to continuing to build this team? I think we kind of know where Troy Weaver is, but we don't even know if he's the one pulling the strings, if he's going to be allowed to. And do you even want him to? I don't think anybody does.
With Skubal, he is one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Yeah.
He's a lefty with velo, with swing and miss. He's 27 years old. He is in the prime of his career. He is the type of, and he's cheap, by the way, still arbitration eligible. He is the type of coveted commodity that everybody wants. And the Tigers should want him too, but the question will be, are they going to pay him a multi-year, $40 million a year salary in the future? And this is a team that's been cutting payroll. And this is a team that's not on the edge of a World Series. And it is at least something you have to ask. If you're willing to pay him, let's get done. In the next year or so, let's get this deal done. Let's let him round out a healthy year and get him paid and anchor him in, and let's spend more money on this baseball team. Hell yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it. But if that's not, and I'm not getting those vibes from this team, it's a real conversation, one people maybe don't want to have. And then the Cade Cunningham thing is, hey, the Pacers traded two-time All-Star Domantas Sabonis, their best player. They got Halliburton back, and then they started to get things going. Now, maybe you think Cade is your Halliburton, and you need to add talent to him, around him. So, and that's when the new GM would have to consider trading guys like Duran and Thompson and Ivy, and you could make the case to do that instead of trading Cade. And I think of the two choices, that's what I would pick. I would keep Cade, and I'd try to build around him. I would trade Skubal, and I would try to get the pieces to hit.
Yeah, I think with the Pistons, everything should be on the table.
True.
Would I want to trade Cade if you're looking at him as the possible cornerstone of what you're going to build around? Then no, you may take him off the market, but everybody else is certainly on the market. There's nobody that valuable. And the question then in return is, what are you going to get in return?
Let's get to France in Detroit. You're on 97.1.
Hey, what's good, fellas?
What's up?
Not much, man. What I would do is I would trade Cade. Reason being, we just saw how quick Indiana turned it around with the Pacers by trading one player and acquiring another. In basketball, there are 5 guys on the floor at one time. There's one ball. You get one guy that makes a difference, one draft pick, one guy, one dog, and then everything starts to switch around. Baseball is different.
So you don't think Cade is that guy? Like, I'll give you an example. Like Anthony Edwards, he kind of pulled everything together in Minnesota. If you don't think Cade's that guy, then that sounds like that's what you're saying. You try to find
Cookies. Listen, have you seen that? Have you seen Ant Edwards?
No.
In all of his awesome traits at any point during Cade's tenure here in Detroit?
No, they're not the same temperament. No, but the skill set I've seen flashes.
Well, you've seen more than me, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Cade is a bad player. I'm not saying that he's trash, but I'm saying that while you can get something for him, go ahead and get some picks for him. You might get a couple first for him. Go ahead and get those.
But France, what good does that do this team with these first round picks?
Well, it depends on who's making those picks.
Yeah,
if the guys in there, if the current guys in there making those picks, then hey, we all know what that's gonna look like. It's gonna look like the last few years. So,
yeah, we know, France. You're right. If it's still him, it's gonna be more fans getting into it with him in the stands, and it's gonna be no more winning. I mean, worst season in franchise history.
The comparison, though, to the wanting to be the Pacers, because you see what they did with Halliburton and how they acquired him. I actually think if the Pistons traded Cade, that they would make that team the next Pacers.
That team would be getting their Halliburton.
Yes. I think the Pistons have their Halliburton. I think they need to figure out a way to get a couple guys around them.
And it's going to be shuffling out a lot of these young players.
I think Durant's going to have to be moved to do this. And I don't want to move him, but you got to give to get.
Ticket texters. Skubal to Baltimore. Perfect fit. They're a team trying to break through. They've got a ton of hitters. They mentioned Gunnar Henderson and Holiday. They also have a couple other top 25 hitting prospects. Could you get a deal done with Baltimore? Feels like kind of the perfect trade partner. Last year, people thought Eduardo Rodriguez to them on a rental, and maybe you can pluck off one of the lower-end guys. Skubal would let you go for the bigger, more proven, exciting bats.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at an organization that has proven that they can develop young bats and they're consistently churning them out, Baltimore would be the one that you'd want to try and tap into.
Skubal to Houston. Oh, this is funny. Skubal to Houston for Jake Rogers, Frankie Perez, and Daz Cameron, signed Uncle Al. The Verlander trade. That is the fear, right? That's what this person's implying.
Right. And the question is, how are you able to get a proven bat or a can't miss bat? Are there any can't miss bats?
Well, back then, I don't know if you remember, but Tiger fans were looking at a hitter in the Houston system they really wanted. Tucker. That's the guy that bats in the heart of the order for Houston.
Yeah.
Would have been great if they plucked him
right
via that trade, which is what you're trying to do with a Skubal-like arm, is get me one of those guys, everydayers with power who can be cornerstone.
Yeah.
This is the great thing about Skubal. See, and somebody brought up Baltimore, and they are one of the primary targets if you do this.
Sure.
They're going to go for it and win it, and they need a ace lefty, and they've got the bats to do it. But you have to hold out. You have to hold out for, like, Jackson Holiday. I know he came up. I think, did they send him back down? I think they did.
He struggled.
I don't know if he's back up or not, but yeah, they did send him back down.
But he is a top line. And look, if he doesn't hit, you made a good trade. He's part of the package, by the way. You're getting other guys. But a lot of people are, mentioning Jerstad. I think he was at Arkansas, and he had a long-term kind of health issue that he had to overcome during COVID and all this. And no, I'm not taking him. Okay? Yeah. Because there's a risk there there's just more risk. Jackson Holiday's considered a can't-miss prospect. Doesn't mean he's going to be a can't-miss prospect, but it's the best thing. And then you got to get guys with him.
We throw out a hypothetical. It's a question nobody wants to answer, but two teams that could use a jolt. Would you rather trade Cade Cunningham or Tarek Skubal? Carson Anderson have come into the studio. What's the vote?
I'm offended by the question.
I know you would be. That's not an option.
Cunningham.
Okay.
Definitively.
Yeah.
Skubal would make more sense if you're going to, because of what you get in return, because you know that Skubal is, he's a Cy Young guy, right?
Yeah.
What's Cade Cunningham? He's not even an all-star.
Right.
So you know that you're going to get more in return for Skubal. It's also easier to absorb because the Tigers do have pitching in the system, so they could do that. Well, I think this question offends me, and
I don't take offense to you being offended. It's okay.
I've heard Mike talk about this too. It offends me because the premise is that he's going to price himself out because he's too good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's not even a free agent until 2027. So if you were to go ahead and give him a contract now, which there's nothing that says you can't, go give him an 8-year deal. He's 27 years old. If you want to give him an 8-year deal for $240 million, is he going to turn it down?
What's the math on that per year? Well, $30 million's too light, right?
Well, it's too light if you wait to free agency.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
But if you're doing it now,
you jump the gun to get a discount.
Yeah. So why not?
Do you envision the Tigers brass being comfortable making that kind of investment?
I'll say this. They did something similar. Well, maybe it's not $30 million a year, but they did a Colt Keith contract.
That's nowhere near the same money.
Well, how much money is it though? How much money is for Colt Keith? Now,
the total deal is like $32 million. You're talking about a deal that's almost 10 times that.
I thought it was more than that. But regardless, they've done something before a guy even set foot onto the diamond in a major league ballpark. So the narrative that Chris Ilitch isn't going to spend money or Boris is going to ask for too much, I just disagree with it at this point right now because he's not even he still has a couple years of arbitration.
Right, he does. He has, I believe, 2. Colt Keith signed a 6-year contract for $28 million.
Okay, so
we're talking a 10x on a Skubal investment from an organization that slashed payroll.
And for a guy who's already proven in the major leagues that he can do what he can do, and who's having a Cy Young
I'd pay Skubal. I just don't know that the organization will.
I don't know why you would think that they wouldn't.
let's look at the payroll under Chris Ilitch.
Okay, let's look at what they've done, though. They did sign Javi Baez. Bad contract, sure.
Yeah, of course.
But
Sometimes you miss, but they don't try to do that very often.
Well, there's a time where you got to go ahead and pay.
When
your
is the
player.
time? It's 10 years removed from a playoff appearance. When is the time?
How about now? How about start with Skubal and start with this offseason. Find a free agent that's worth a damn and go ahead. Go after, somebody like Juan Soto. Go ahead and do something like that. Make a splash.
You and me agree.
Get some freaking players over here.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Hi.
Hey. What do you guys
I'm enjoying
I don't
the.
know. It sounds like you want to sit in. I'll take the rest of the day off.
No, sorry. What do you guys got coming up?
Thanks for listening. Costa and Gator coming up next.
It's not even a short show.
Okay, he's walking away. You guys next, 97.1.
All right, so a lot to get into today, but we're going to start with a little experiment here, Gator.
Good. We get back on track.
Just to lighten the mood. He's got intense there. I'm going to do something that an absolute major superstar did with their kids. This is a screenshot of a text message sent from Tom Hanks to his son. And I'm going to send...
His son Colin?
Chet.
Oh.
Yep.
Got a son named Chet. Huh?
Yep. I am going to send the same text to my kids and see what response I get. Okay?
All right.
Tom Hanks texts his son Chet, "Big man, can you explain the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud to me?"
Oh, it's a great question.
It is. I know. Gator wants to know too.
I'm dying to know the answer.
Yeah.
Because it's on, apparently.
Oh,
right?
it's on.
It's on.
All right, hold on.
This is this generation's like Tupac versus Biggie.
Yep. Can you explain now they're going to get into the Dad, you're not embarrassing me again, are you?
Of course.
Yep.
No, say no, I'm embarrassing me.
Yep.
Yourself. Not.
I just want to see what my kids, in fact, let's encourage the audience to do this too.
First of all, one of them's not even awake.
Yeah, he is. He might be back asleep. He had a 7:15 appointment this morning, but Drake, Kendrick Lamar feud to me. All right. So that's off to my oldest. I don't know if I want to send it to the kid in school, but he's got lunch coming up. So
He'll be the first one to respond.
he probably will.
In the middle of math.
Yep.
Algebra 2.
Mm-hmm. And I'll send it to my daughter, although I won't say big man. I'll go with hey there. Hey there.
That's it. Well done, Doug.
All right, so I've sent off 3 texts to all 3 of my kids who are 22, 18, and 16, asking them to explain the Drake Kendrick Lamar feud to me. Are you going to send something to your niece?
I'll send it to my niece because I don't think my nephew cares.
All right. Kang, are your kids too young?
Yeah, just a tad bit too young. A tad bit. I say, hey, dude, what's going on with this Bluey versus Peppa Pig feud?
All right, feel free to send that to your kids, and then feel free to text us the response to 248-539-9797. I suspect this will take course over the entire show, but I'm intrigued to see if they can.
Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
Yeah. My youngest sent back, can I send you a TikTok explaining it?
Awesome.
Okay, did you hear that? AJ sent back, can I send you a TikTok explaining it?
Oh, this is like Cliff Notes now. This is their version of Cliff Notes is TikTok.
The kid who's in school is the first one to reply.
He was. What is your take?
I was going to say, yeah, ask him his take and what his opinion on it is, not somebody else's take.
You think it's about. All right, just a little experiment here. We do have what Tom Hanks' son sent back. And then, but Tom Hanks having a dad moment. I don't know what's going on here. I was actually at a drive-thru the other day, and the girl asked me, are you a Drake or Kendrick guy? And all I know is I'm not a Kendrick guy. I do not like Kendrick Lamar. I don't think his music's any good. And I know this is amongst the least popular takes I have ever had on the air. That may be the way I put my hangers on the rod.
Who does that?
Under and back. But I do I don't so I answered Drake. And then the girl at the drive-thru turned around and said to the other girl, he agrees with you.
But everyone knows you're just anti-Lamar, not really pro-Drake.
I'm not paying any attention to the feud.
Well, what?
However, yeah, but I'm sure that's what they asked me was probably my take on the feud.
Yes.
What I was saying is I don't, know a whole ton of, I like Drake's music fine enough, but I do not like Kendrick Lamar's music, which I have gotten shredded for. I think of like seriously, my kids, that's the one thing where they were like, oh, Dad. Oh, God, Dad. You didn't say that on the air, did you? I'm like, yeah. And they were mortified by that. But.
It's okay, man. People that don't know on this show, Doug Gator brings up all the time. Doug he was a huge hip-hop fan growing up.
Huge.
Yep. Eric B., Rakim, right?
You got it.
Public Enemy.
Cool J, Public Enemy, Run DMC.
Old school rap.
And I got off. I'm way off the grid with groups like Mantronics and Schoolie D, and
I don't know anybody that has the old school rap knowledge that Doug does, and I'm being dead serious.
So, but it has over the years of my music taste changed. Yeah, they have. I'm not quite.
Yeah, they gotten worse.
Yeah, maybe whatever.
I'm kidding. Music is subjective.
However,
everybody likes what they like. It's okay.
Okay, I'll just see what the response is. And if you want to text us what your kids say, it could be funny throughout the show.
I believe I got a response.
Do you have a response from your niece?
Mm-hmm.
Is she? Well, good. What'd she say?
She says, I asked her, I said, can you explain the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake? Her response was, I personally cannot, but her boyfriend might be able to.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
Sounds good.
See what he's got. Help the rest of us understand. Okay, Tigers last night were on TV. Hooray. Is there anybody with worse luck than Reese Olson?
Absolutely not.
There's nobody with worse luck than Reese Olson.
The funny thing is, I didn't even think of it in those terms because he got hit by the pitch.
Yes.
Until you just said it. And I'm like, how did I not think of this earlier? Of course, he gets no run support. Now he's in the third inning of a game and line drive up the middle, hits him right in the hip. and he immediately.
You could tell right away.
He said he blacked out. I mean, the glove goes flying. He just walks off the mound like, I'm out. Meanwhile, the play's still going. And somebody forgot to tell Jake Rogers just to hang on to the ball. But
Jake Rogers, backhand shuffles a ball down the left field line trying to get it out at third base. Ridiculous. I mean, look, that's got it. He's trying to make a play. But seriously, who's got worse luck than Reese Olson? Of course he got hit by a pitch.
Of course.
Or hit by a line drive, I should say.
A batted baseball.
Yes. Of course he did.
Of course. How big is that bruise? I mean, it's obviously it's going to be as big as the baseball. He's going to have the stitches of the baseball are going to be imprinted on his hip.
Probably.
Does that thing bruise? It's been a minute since I've been hit by a baseball.
Yeah, it leaves the stitches.
Yeah, no, I know it does that, but does it bruise up even bigger?
Yeah.
Than the baseball size?
Yeah, it'll satellite out from there.
Yeah. Because I imagine it's a pretty nifty color right now.
I mean, seriously, that's the game we got on TV?
Right. And once we got right before the game, I'm thinking, oh, no, we're not going to have it on TV because it is on Bally's.
Yeah, but it was on FS1.
Yes.
So,
but other games were on MLB
Yeah, it was
Network.
MLB Network that blacks him out. For some reason, FS1 does not. But it was a close game, and then Joey Wentz took over and proceeded to absolutely blow up.
Well, he
He didn't get one out. 5 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned. Gave up a bomb.
Bo Brisket was good.
Yeah, for the 2 and a 30 was in there. 248-539-9797. It just feels like, I was talking yesterday about how things conspiring against the Tigers and the relationship with the Tiger fans this summer some of it's their own doing. They don't have a team that compels people to watch. They don't do the things that people want to see. They do some things good, but the big thing is offense. People want to see gaudy offensive numbers, and they're not doing that. But they're a 500 baseball team. A 500 baseball team with gaudy numbers might create more interest, gaudy offensive numbers. But you put that also with this TV deal falling apart now that the games aren't on TV. Then when one does pop up on TV, we get that. Which was interesting enough until, I don't know how far Reese Olson would have gone, but when Wentz took over, it basically killed the second half of the game because they gave up 6 runs in the inning and we're out of it. 248-539-9797. It's Carson Anderson. We'll get to more on the Tigers. Also, the national media catching up to one of our teams, what they're doing. We will get to that today at 10:20 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, congrats to all the Michigan Wolverines drafted into the NFL for 2024. The University of Michigan Credit Union is cheering loud and proud. UMCU is a proud partner of Michigan Athletics and the official credit union of the Detroit Lions. One might say they're the leaders and best in financial services. I just suited up with UMCU, and you can too. No matter where you hail from, you're eligible to join, and signing up is easy. I actually scored one of the cooler debit cards around. They have a Michigan Winged Helmet debit card. They got a Block M debit card. They got Lions debit cards, including one that will match the black uniforms coming out soon. With your UMCU debit card, your call and plays at millions of stores, hotels, and restaurants worldwide. Need some cash in your pockets? Hit up thousands of surcharge-free ATMs conveniently spread across Michigan and beyond. Open your account today at umcu.org and get in the game. And hey, while you're there, check out the resources for student, auto, and home loans. University of Michigan Credit Union, proudly repping your official Block M credit card with UMCU. Some restrictions apply. See site for details. Federally insured by NCUA. It's our car, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Looking down at Twitch. Streaming video on twitch.tv and youtube.com where you can watch the show. Go to twitch.tv, search bar at the top, type in 971 The Ticket, and bam, there we are. Our guy Benny over there running it. Same thing with YouTube, youtube.com, and search up 971 The Ticket. And the show is streamed live with video. Hellborn Elfchild tweets or text or write. Wow. Yeah. Reese is paying for the debts of a long line of poor decisions by his ancestors. That's the only logical explanation.
Well, it's like Poltergeist then. Is that what we're doing?
I guess.
Although that wasn't really ancestors. That was more the development company that decided to build a neighborhood on a Indian burial ground.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Kitech says, I think the stat track said the ball was going 103 miles per hour off the bat.
Yeah, that's right. Over 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
Bam, right to the hip.
I caught something in your show sheet that did make me wonder.
Okay.
You said Caitlin Clark was on ESPN again last night. Did you watch? Her technical foul cost her team. Were you watching that instead of the Tigers?
I was flipping around.
Okay.
And I made a note to myself. I am actually flipping legitimately to see the end of this game because I was just, she's on again.
Yep.
Curious what's she doing, and I see the score is close and I know that they haven't won yet. I'm like, are they going to win? And then she got teed up for you dropping an F-bomb towards a referee and saying that the ref missed the call, but let her know quite emphatically.
Yeah.
And boom, technical. So that cost him.
You know what that is? That's Joey Wentz came in. What did it make you flip to?
Well, it may have been exactly that. I won't deny that. Yeah. There was a lot going on around
because I eventually started, all right, Game 7's getting underway, Edmonton, Vancouver.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. And Edmonton, Vancouver wouldn't start until this game was done. And
I mean, I don't want to pile on Joey Wentz, but thanks, Joey. I was one Tiger game that's on TV in the last month I could watch. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
When are you gonna break down?
Yes, I'm going to. Just don't want to. Keep waiting for it to. And there's this. I'm supposed to watch the games for my living.
This would help.
And I'm not. Okay? And the whole idea, the absurdity of that, it's ridiculous. I'm not, you know me. Am I irresponsible?
You're not irresponsible. That's why I'm surprised you still haven't done this.
I haven't done it on principle in part. And also, and this is maybe just an excuse, but what we do, part of it is to relate to the audience. And so I'm trying to go through what the audience is going through, which I was excited to watch the game last night.
This is completely counterintuitive to what you and I are like as people. Honestly.
Because when it comes to things like streaming and technology.
Let's take it step by step here. Out of the two of us, who is more technologically savvy?
Me.
There you go.
Yep.
So you can get into the whole streaming thing. Out of the two of us, who is more likely to hold a grudge?
You.
There it is, right? Out of the two of us, who is more likely to find a deal?
Probably me.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are free trials.
Yeah.
And you still haven't latched onto this. Out of the two of us, which one is perceivably more prepared to do the show?
Well, I'm not going to answer that out loud, but look, let's just say this.
That guy over there. And I'm not pointing at myself.
Let's just say that yeah, I'm in a very stubborn place.
You are in this. You are not a stubborn person when it comes to this. You're very patient.
Okay.
You have 3 children. You've had to be patient.
Here's the crazy thing is.
Until you blow up. And then
we have a place up north, okay? Mm-hmm. And up north, they still get Tiger baseball. And I have downloaded the app, couldn't get onto the app to stream on my phone, to be able to stream our account from up north. Then I went on my laptop, got on, and couldn't get onto the account. Couldn't even log onto the account. So after messing around with this thing for like 20 minutes, I was like, F it. And what I need to do is pick up the phone and call our cable provider up north and have them tell me how to do this. But it goes back to I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. It's all stupid. We're all held hostage by the stupid corporate greed, pissing match between two. I don't even care who's right anymore. I'm mad at everybody.
I think we need to do this, revisit this, because now it's been a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have had no issue with the Bally's app. It's worked out well.
What about the same commercials over and over? And all that?
I haven't even really noticed that.
You haven't noticed the okay. All right.
No, I haven't. And even if it is, it doesn't bother me. I guess because the way I'm watching it now, I'm watching it on my laptop, which I have on like an ottoman a foot away from me, while I have my TV on something else.
Yep.
So if the game's in between innings, I'm not paying attention to the commercials anyway.
Fair.
Which I'm sure advertisers love to hear. But the app has been improved, I think, significantly. I had a buddy of mine text me yesterday that he's had the app and for a couple years, and he said it's not an issue anymore. It used to be horrible. He says now it's
gotten
fine.
better.
Yeah. So I bet you the people that are experiencing it now, more people will say, you know what? If you've just gotten the app because of the situation, how is it working for you now? Because I haven't had any issues.
You're talking about for people who just
that just signed up for Bally's.
You're having good success with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
knock on wood, it stays that way. Or actually, knock on wood that they settle their differences and figure it out, and it gets back on Xfinity. But I think they've improved it. I think they must have heard our show, Doug.
They must have heard our show. They heard all the complaints about the quality of the app.
Yes.
Kang, how are you surviving without Tiger Baseball on TV?
So I'm pretty busy with the two little girls.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kept me busy. But I feel like a lot of Tiger fans that it's hard for me to connect to this team, even though they're probably doing better than what I personally expected so far.
Yeah.
It's just we talked about it last week, talked about it earlier this week. Where you with the Tigers, I'm kind of just dormant a little bit with the Tigers. So without the app and without watching them on TV right now, I've been okay.
You know what's funny? I think that we are at a weird place with this team where the losses do more damage than the wins do good.
I agree.
I think people, when they see them lose, trade everybody. Losses have you talking about trading Skubal. Wins don't have you talking about trading for parts to help them win now, even though they're literally like a 500 team. And as you pointed out yesterday, I hadn't even looked because it's so early, but they're just a game out of the wild card chase. Now they're a game out of the wild card chase, and they look like they're taking on water. But
well, it's okay. It's a season, right? Yeah. I mean, Minnesota has lost 7 straight games now.
Yeah,
they were a team that was ahead of the Tigers in this chase, and so the Tigers lost and Minnesota loses, so they don't gain any ground on them. But nonetheless, it's just pointing out Minnesota was a playoff team yesterday.
Yep.
So a lot of season to go. That's how I'm trying to bring myself out of the funk I was in at the end of last week.
Yeah.
But last night didn't help when you've got one of your better pitchers on the mound, and then that happened.
I feel like baseball too is like kind of like a really good sport to put on background noise.
Yeah.
And so I just have different background noise at this point, and you were flipping yesterday, Gator, maybe because Reese got, taken out of the game, but someone I think the other day put like on the app, they can't flip as much, and baseball is the ultimate flip sport for them. So to me, it's the ultimate background noise, and I just have different background noise right now.
Yeah, I think when Javi Baez grounded into a second double play, I may have lost patience.
That's when you flipped over to watch Caitlin Clark.
Well, I was flipping around, and yeah, I did.
248-539-9797. We'll get to your phone calls and feedback coming up. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1. The car, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket, Kangs behind the glass. Let's get to your phone calls at 248-539-9797. Robert, you're on 97.1. Hi, Robert. Robert, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, what's up? Robert?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. After 3 weeks, and I don't know, I think I've missed, 15, 16 games now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I made the decision when this first started. I'm not going to change my cable provider. I'm not going to buy the app. And, you know, like a lot of people, I'm pissed off at Comcast and Bally's. But you know what? Don't you think the Tigers bear a little bit of responsibility in this? Because they signed a streaming deal with Bally's in the off season. And if you look back to last year, and they saw what was coming. All these different markets saw what was coming, but yet the Tigers still did it. Nobody knew that there was a deadline. Nobody told us anything about it. We just woke up on April 1st with no Bally's. And you know what? They can keep it. You know, I'll listen to some games on the radio, but after that, I'm good. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So, look, I've talked to people at the Tigers organization, and they said they've had nothing to do with this. I'm not quite sure how that's the case. But you know, I personally am frustrated. I'm frustrated because there was no warning that this was coming. I didn't think there was enough warning, I guess, that this was coming, and kind of snuck up on us. And I might have sought out some other alternatives back when I was a little bit more enthused, you know, when the season, like if I knew by opening day that this was going to be an issue and probably not going to get resolved, I might have actually done something. I've run into this weird place from my TV, which has been perfectly fine. My TV in my living room it's got a great picture. I've never had any complaints, but I guess it's from a previous generation, and I can't stream through that TV.
I can't stream either.
Yeah,
so
and I can stream a ton of stuff. I can't get the Fox app to be able to get, you know, or the Bally's app. I can't get, you know, what is it? Throw my phone up on there. I can't do any of that, and it's frustrating as hell. Now at some point I might go get a new TV, and when I get a new TV, I want to get a system set up where I'm not getting Xfinity and I'm not paying for Bally's. Like I'm out. Okay, screw them both. I'll go some other direction. Like you had Fubo, I'll get it. I'll just stream Fubo. I'm like, all right, I'll. But the problem is, when you get Fubo, eventually there's something else you don't have that you used to have. But I don't want to give either of them any of my money anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's issues with every service, no matter where you try to go with it. As far as the Tigers and their involvement, look, if they had a deal with Bally's, a new streaming deal they signed the offseason, I'm not sure why is it the Tigers' fault? They needed to re-up. They did. And they were assuming, like all of us, that if there's any strife going on behind the scenes, that it gets worked out.
Mm-hmm.
We were all kind of blindsided on this, not knowing that there was a deadline in place on a hard date, because next thing we knew, it was out.
Yep.
Well, we didn't have any notice on this. Like, give me a little bit of notice. And I think it's unfortunate all around, because had there been notice to the public, hey, there's 2 weeks until this thing comes down, we would have been getting updates every other day on this. What's the progress? How's it going? And there would have been public pressure. And I think public pressure is enough to get something done before a deadline. Once a deadline passes, like this situation where there wasn't public knowledge of the deadline,
yeah,
then I think it's a waiting game. And just, Xfinity is going to wait for their best deal. I think Bally's is trying to get their best deal, and it's a waiting game that unfortunately the fans lose on. But lots of people are losing out on this. Advertisers are losing out on this. The cable company's losing out on it, and Bally's. Everybody's losing. Nobody's winning in this.
No.
Except for maybe Major League Baseball down the road, because Major League Baseball may just end up taking it all and putting it all on the same on one app, which is apparently a real possibility now.
Yeah, I've done some reading about the big picture. Major League Baseball is seeing multiple regional networks have these kinds of issues. So here I sit. And so I get particularly annoyed when the one game that's on TV turns into a disaster. Then I get particularly annoyed. But hey, Cole Keith did go 3 for 4.
Yeah, he did. Yep. The double, and he's got his average up. What is it, 214 now, something like that?
Yeah, this is one of the perhaps blossoming success stories in the we're going to play the young guys. Here's what you think. You think you've got an organization filled with prospects. And the truth is, some of them are never going to make it. And one or two of them are going to make it. And of those maybe 2 or 3 that are going to, quote, make it to the major league level, maybe only one of them will be a star. If you're lucky, maybe 2 will be stars. Where the Tigers, their approach to this season has allowed a guy like Cole Keith to work through growing pains at the major league level. Maybe he blossoms this year. Maybe by the end of the year, we're very, very excited. But,
the way I'm looking at it right now is it's a guy who doesn't strike out much. Less than 17% of the time he strikes out. And so that tells you he puts the ball in play. Now, he hadn't been hitting the ball very hard. His exit velocity wasn't anything special. His barrel rate probably wasn't very good. And his average reflected it. But he wasn't striking out. So it's just a matter of, is he going to start to hit the ball a little bit harder like we know that he can, because he did it all the last couple of years in the minors. And when that happens, how is that going to reflect on his batting average and such?
Yep.
It's a small sample size. It's like 2 weeks where he's had much better swings. But it's been consistent during that time. And now the pitches he's hitting are being hit really hard, and fortunately in the gaps, whether it's infield base hits or getting down the line and going for extra bases, which hasn't happened often enough. But he's hitting the ball, and he's hitting the ball hard, and now they're finding holes. And it's very encouraging for him. Yeah. And I imagine you can see his confidence is just booming.
It's nice. Kerry Carpenter, again, coming through last night. I don't know when the dust settles what role he's going to play, whether it be here or somewhere else. But I tend to want it to be here. And I'm not sure in the open market what you'd even get for a Kerry Carpenter if you decided to shop him around.
Well, a 25-year-old outfielder that can hit.
Yeah, I wonder if there's reluctance around the league to believe in it, though, because he's kind of an out-of-nowhere guy.
But he's been doing it for, this is his second year that he's done it?
I know.
He's the best hitter on the team. It's
certainly
by a lot.
Consistent. But good for him. I did get a response now from one of my kids, another one because I did what Tom Hanks did. If you missed the beginning of the show, Tom Hanks texted his son, and his son took a screenshot. Big man, can you explain the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud to me? And it was a long response from Tom Hanks' son, Chet. So I just sent it to my kids. And so now my daughter has responded.
Yeah.
I said, hey there, can you explain the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud to me? She texts back, there's a lot. So I texted her, well, help a brother out.
Yeah.
Let's see what it gets. So I've one kid has responded, I'll send you a TikTok to explain it. The other one has said, there's a lot.
You should also text whose side you got, too.
Okay.
Who you got, whose back you got, or who's winning.
All right.
I'm texting with my niece's boyfriend. He says, I really don't get the Drake-Kendrick beef at all. I think they both took some jabs at each other in songs, and now it's turned into a feud. I said, well, why were they taking jabs at each other? He said, I think it's been building. I think Drake takes a lot of flack for being a singer, in quotation marks, rather than a rapper in the community.
So they don't really know the true beef either. They're outside looking in.
Yeah.
All right, here's from my daughter. Basically, J. Cole released a song saying that him, Drake, and Kendrick were the GOATs, and then Kendrick released a song saying that he's the only real GOAT. And now she's going to continue texting. We're going to get caught up today.
Good. I want to be. I want to know.
That's what Chet
left out.
That's what Chet texted Tom, his dad.
This is Chet's response. I actually have a screenshot. Yeah. So Drake and this other dude, J. Cole, been saying they, along with Kendrick, are the big three in rap. Then Kendrick put out a song saying, "F the big three. It's just about me initiating the beef." So we have some consistency between my daughter and Chet Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now my daughter says Kendrick winning, but Drake better.
Oh, maybe she's a Drake fan, but
now she says Kendrick and his boys winning. So
why would Drake?
No, my bad. This is my son. Oh. I'm sorry to confuse you. I said, whose back you got? Kendrick winning, but Drake better. Kendrick and his boys winning. Kendrick's back, but I'd rather listen to Drake. I have Kendrick's back, but I'd rather listen to Drake. That's interesting. My daughter says Drake released a song dissing Kendrick, And I don't know what that means. Basically,
Hey, next time you're with her, Doug, just let's catch up.
All right, the national media is we got sidetracked. National media is catching up to what's going on in Detroit. Is it going to work? We'll get to that today at 10:47 here on 97.1 The Ticket. NBA playoffs ongoing, and it's not too late to get in on the action with FanDuel because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to use on same game parlays, live bets, championship futures, and so much more. So think about $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Just find a prop bet. And by the way, you can move totals, like bet some superstar to score over 4 points, and you'll win your $150 in bonus bets. No better place to get in on the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to FanDuel.com/Doug to get started. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. First online real money wage only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. My daughter's story aligns with Chet Hanks. I've just gotten a flurry of text explaining the Drake-Kendrick Lamar beef. I'll run through these and then we'll move on. So I said, she said, there's a lot. I said, help a brother out. And whose back you got? She said, basically, J. Cole released a song saying that him, Drake, and Kendrick were the GOATs. Then Kendrick released a song saying that he is the only GOAT. Then Drake released a song dissing Kendrick and Metro Boomin. And basically, they've been going back and forth, accusing each other of things, with Drake saying Kendrick is an abuser and Kendrick saying that Drake's a pedophile and has a daughter that he hid from the world. Jeez. And they keep releasing songs accusing and denying. I don't know. I like them both, but Kendrick's a better rapper, although I listen to Drake more because he's more catchy. You're welcome. I feel like I got the gist. And I texted back, nailed it. That's my take. So that's where we're at.
So I don't know anything about.
Dude, this is LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee all over again.
Well, I was going to say, is this going back to like, Biggie and Tupac? Are we doing an anniversary of their beef?
Well,
Biggie and Tupac
they got deadly. We don't want that.
No. What do you think? Nobody wants. I don't want it.
No, the rappers
saying,
nowadays aren't like that, man.
Things got out of it. Well, this guy's talking about pedophilia right now.
Yeah, that's what we talk about now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we talk about now. Illegitimate kids and versus pedophilia. I mean, what's the next? The next step is.
The next step is, they congratulate each other for helping each other's album sales. That's the next step.
So this is like Tyson and Jake Paul.
Yeah. I don't know what's real, what's not real, but I'm sure it's helped put them two in the public eye even more.
Probably.
And so.
Do we need Snoop to step in?
Sure. I don't know if we need anything.
I know, right? I think we're done. That's it.
Saying Canada's got no love for West Coast rap?
Or West Coast got no love for Canada. But.
Well, right. I'm just saying that's what Snoop would step in and say.
Gotcha. Well, we're caught up.
We did get a ticket text Gator that said, how did Doug go from Public Enemy to Celine Dion? Life comes at you fast, man.
Yeah.
To some.
I mean, at some point, I may as well just, nobody's ever going to believe me. I may as well, sure, yeah, I went to Celine Dion. It's the best show I ever saw. I'd go again. Shame what happened to her. Greatest artist ever. Her heart will go on. I mean, what am I supposed to do here?
You feel better?
Nobody believes me, but.
You got that off your chest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's all evolved.
What a relief.
Doug went from Mantronics to whoever's in the faster horses tour or whatever. And
well.
Now you're all countryed.
I can be. I'm into the band Camino right now. You ever heard of the band Camino?
No.
Yeah, all right.
You had a John Cicada phase, too.
I did have a John Cicada phase. I got engaged backstage at a John Cicada concert. True story.
And you're not going to go.
I mean, yeah.
Randy Jackson's at the airport. You're not going to not get his autograph.
Was that that was meticulously planned, or?
So look, it was a Y2K engagement right at midnight, Orange Bowl trip. They gave the media.
This is to your wife, right?
Yes. Thank you. They gave the media. They had a concert. There was a John Cicada concert. We all had backstage passes, and backstage was in this giant park in downtown Miami, and backstage was a grass field with food stations and drink stations. And I had my then girlfriend back there, and at midnight and 3, 2, 1, I got down on one knee and proposed. It's funny because there's pictures throughout the night that we have that got developed later.
Mm-hmm. Developed,
you can see, true
photographs
story.
were taken
you could
with
see
cameras.
The box with the ring in it, sitting in my pants pocket. So maybe she noticed it early, but later I actually met John Cicada and told him
she did.
What's that in your pants? I actually
just
met
happy to see me?
John Cicada at a celebrity softball. It was the All-Star Celebrity Softball
back
thing.
here in,
Remember when I got
2005?
yelled at by ESPN?
Vaguely.
Anyway, John Cicada was playing in the game, so I told him about this. Yeah, I got engaged backstage at your concert. Which one? I told him. Oh, it was a great show. But
You're like, yeah. What do you sing?
Well, he had one huge hit, but was it Just Another Day Without You?
Dude.
Okay. So so then I was the in-house MC for the celebrity softball game. And so I've got a microphone. I'm down on the field doing play-by-play.
For the people in the stadium.
For the people in the stadium. But the game is being broadcast on ESPN. Somebody hits a home run. I run out and start interviewing him on their way from third to home. And I'm like doing a live interview. I don't even remember who it was. It was like Harold Reynolds or somebody. Okay. And I'm interviewing him on their way home. And ESPN, I guess, is screaming, "Who's that guy? Get him off! Like, get him off the field!" And I'm like, so they come up and they say, "Yeah, don't do that anymore." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Who told you don't do that anymore?
Somebody from the Tigers.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it was somebody from ESPN.
But the game, so they
tell them where to go.
They taped that thing and then replay it, and you could kind of see it. They cut away. They edited me out, but you could see me like running out across the field to do this interview, and they were not happy.
Hey, man, doing your job.
It happened twice. Here's a little known fact. Little known fact: for college football postseason games, either New Year's Six or college football playoffs, the sideline reporters are not allowed out for the coin toss. Did not know this and was not told this.
Oh.
And I had an incident with security. And during the regular season, you're not allowed out there for overtime coin tosses. Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. That wasn't every game though.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
We have a steadfast rule here that the media cannot be out at the coin toss for a college football playoff game? What?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, they want to limit the number of bodies that are out there?
I guess. I mean, it's a TV show, right? And Avant learned that this year because he's doing something.
I swear you were out there was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, Doug was just beginning the streak.
Yeah, I was upstairs.
Maybe I was wrong. You could have had a Scotty Scheffler situation.
I could have.
Yeah.
I could have. That's a good point. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I did not know that. The first time it happened to me, the security happened at the Virginia Tech Michigan Sugar Bowl.
So that's a normal.
That was the New Year's Six game, and I was running out there, and whoa, and security came out. And
did they put hands on you, Doug?
They put hands on me, yeah.
Wow.
And then when I got back, and I was told, "Yeah, you're not allowed out there." And I'm like, that would have been good to know before I ran out on the field and in front of the stadium. Got apprehended and let off.
Was there an explanation on the air with Brandy and Deerdorf about what happened?
No.
No? Why wouldn't you? Oh, that would have been a great story.
Yeah, I feel like some of my sideline antics probably led to more headaches than. Yeah, I stopped talking about some of the stuff that happened on the sidelines.
Oh, you were a little bit of a handful? Were you a loose cannon, Doug?
I think it was portrayed that way. One Big Ten school in particular did not like me, but
besides Illinois?
No, it was Illinois.
It's really just the quarterback hated you.
No, it was the only school that gave us beef.
Imagine thinking Doug Karsh is a loose cannon.
Right.
I mean, right? It's like, come on, people. Do you even know who this man is?
Hey.
He follows the rules. He stays between the lines. He eats his vegetables.
Right.
God.
Watch out for this guy. He's a troublemaker. We're like, ooh, that Doug?
Right? He'd be the only one who would be imprisoned and ask for to sneak in kale.
Yeah. Do you guys have milk?
Get a glass of milk.
I got 2% or skim.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
All we have is vitamin D.
Yeah, Delta.
I'll have to make do.
Delta is not carrying milk anymore, I've noticed. But all right. Anyway, we got sidetracked again.
What?
Yeah. So OTAs start today for the Detroit Lions. So it's kind of a big time, right? This is the first time they'll have the whole team out there for practice. Now, these are not mandatory, correct? These are not mandatory.
They're OTAs, so.
Which stands for Organized Team Activities, which is just a fancy way of saying practice to fit under, I assume these are collectively bargained. What is the difference between what you're obligated to go to and what you're not obligated
Correct. I don't think these are mandatory, but it's pretty much mandatory.
Yeah. So kind of a big time, right? You get a sense for how the kids fit in. You get a sense for who's come back in better shape. You get a sense for whether or not a big contract has changed anyone. Please no, please no, please no. Like that, you hope that the big contract doesn't change anyone's fire or hunger or desire.
I mean, honestly, that's the number one thing I have looking into the OTAs is that I want to hear out of it that Penei Sewell, Jared Goff, and Amon-Ra St. Brown are leading the way. Practice as usual, business as usual. We're leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just got these giant contracts. It's not changing us. All right, we might joke around about it in the locker room. Once we get out on the practice field, we're all business.
Yep.
We got a job to do. We've got goals we want to reach this year, And, last year was just the beginning. That's what I want to hear.
Well, we'll get into some of the key things as, basically the window is open. This team has Super Bowl aspirations. When the window closes, how many, where will they be? How long can they, extend this thing? And what's ahead for the Detroit Lions? The next 2 years, it's obvious. After that, it gets tricky. It's Carson Anderson. We get to that next on 97.1 The Ticket.
Brought to you by CGC Water Treatment. We do have official times and dates for the Lions preseason games. Their opening exhibition going to be on Thursday, August 8th at Ford Field at 7 p.m. It'll be at Kansas City on Saturday, the 17th at 4 p.m. And then the finale on Saturday, August 24th at 1 p.m. Downtown Detroit versus the Steelers. More than just rookies.
That's one more primetime game then. That
yeah,
Thursday
baby.
night game.
Throw it on there.
Come on.
Baby. More than just the rookies arriving at Allen Park today, the Lions OTAs begin and will be running through Thursday as the 2024 team begins ramping up their workouts. New veterans and rookies will get their bearings straight, and some competitions will get underway. One of them maybe to watch, backup quarterback between a healthy Hendon Hooker, Nate Sudfeld, and others. The Tigers are falling behind in the AL Central, but one of their young players, Colt Keith, has been trending in the right direction. 3 more hits last night, and asked if he feels like he's turning a corner. Keith is batting .571 over his past 4 games with only 2 strikeouts and 15 trips to the plate. Casey Mize will be on the mound today. He says he thinks that he himself has turned a corner after adding a sinker to his repertoire lately. 2 straight quality starts is a good sign. He'll battle the Royals tonight with pregame action right here on 97.1 The Ticket at 7:15. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
How about that? Another primetime game for the Lions, man. Doesn't stop.
We were laughing this morning that the preseason schedule was released via a tweet from the Lions. That's it.
What do you mean?
The NFL has not figured out a way to generate any drama or excitement for the preseason schedule. Now, before you mock that,
I'm not. What?
They create drama for everything to dominate the offseason timeline. Today, there was a subtle tweet. Here's the preseason schedule. And I'm thinking, Ken come over and he goes, it's only a matter of time, right?
I don't know how they're going to do it.
But they're going to
do it.
They got to leave a little something to the imagination here. Got to leave something in a tank.
No, they don't. No meat left on the bone when it comes to the NFL.
Well, they duly noted for them. They're like, we got this next year. But right now, we're okay. We can.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, let the teams have their fun.
They'll figure it out.
We'll leak they'll start leaking preseason games.
Yep. Okay, so a couple things here. We followed Tom Hanks's lead today, who texted his son, hey, man, can you explain the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud to me? And his son answered back, I've done the same thing with my kids. My daughter pretty much summed it up. My little guy wanted to send me a TikTok explaining it, and my oldest is probably still asleep. He had to get up early this morning. We asked the listeners to do the same. Text your kids.
You wouldn't want him to stay awake.
Hey, man. Don't act like you weren't still asleep at 11:04 when you were 22 years old.
Had I just graduated?
Yeah.
No, I was working.
Did you have, if you didn't have a job yet, between graduation and the start of your job, would you have been asleep at 11:04?
Wasn't a whole lot of time between then. So I guess I'm probably on the same schedule at this point because I think I started really working about 4 weeks after graduation.
Look, I'd prefer he gets up early and gets his day going and gets stuff done. But in the real world, he got up early today, and I knew he had a doctor's appointment and went home and went back to sleep. All right, so we asked people to do the same. Text your kids, ask for their summation of Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. We got a bunch of those coming in, and we'll read them coming up shortly as people forward them over. All right, so Albert Breer is caught up with something we've been saying. Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated. The Lions' obvious window to win a Super Bowl is 2 years. 2024 and 2025, they are not taking killer cap hits in spite of these massive contracts. So this year and next year. In 2026, the cap numbers balloon for Amon-Ra, for Goff, and for Sewell. In 2025, so next year, the cap hit, this is the first year of the extension for the three of them, Amon-Ra, Penei, and Goff. They will pay the three of them $55.95 million. $55.95 for the three of them.
For which year?
2025. So that's next year. Not this coming season, but the one after. In 2026,
here we go.
The cap hit for the three of them, for Goff, it goes to 69.6, Amon-Ra 33.1, Sewell 28. So they'll go from 55.95 committed to them in 2025 to $130.7 million committed to them in 2026. So yesterday, Albert Breer did a story about, kind of bringing the rest of the country up to speed. There's an obvious 2-year window here where they still have some flexibility under the cap. They can add salary this year. Hell, they can add salary next year. 2026, Albert Breer wrote, is where Brad Holmes probably goes to a Rams-style template, which is we're going to be top-heavy, extraordinarily top-heavy, but I'm populating the roster with cheaper guys that I get out of the draft. He's betting on himself, like we said last week when the Goff contract got signed. So the question is sustainability beyond, because we also came out with that list yesterday, the Pro Football Focus list, where 20% of the list of top players in the league under the age of 25 were Detroit Lions. They had 5 players on the list. No other team had more than 2. And the Lions had 5. Penei Sewell is a top player under 25 in the league. I don't remember everybody else's rating, but it was Amon-Ra was like 6 maybe. Aiden Hutchinson was 11.
I think Hutch was higher than Amon-Ra. Hutch was like 6. I think Amon-Ra was 11. And then you had Jahmyr Gibbs. Was it Laporta before Gibbs?
Laporta was like 18 and Gibbs was 21.
21.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of badass, this roster they put together. The problem is those guys are many of them are going to have money due in the next year or two. It's going to get really tricky. You have to crush it in the draft for sustainability, but I don't know what choice you have. They have a Super Bowl caliber team right now. It would be stupid to take any steps backwards, in my opinion. You have to try to capitalize. And so, they got 2 years here where they can really go for it. 3 years from now, this is where you might have to take some hits on the roster. It just is what it is. Now,
you see where the cap is.
Yeah, the cap, we've done the standard cap, inflation rate is like 13.75%. It won't account for an $80 million difference between 2024 and 2025 and 2026. But you can renegotiate guys' contracts.
Well, that's the thing, is that as the next contracts come up, the Aiden Hutchinsons of the world, that's it's another opportunity to renegotiate or to restructure, I should say, not renegotiate, but restructure. And they'll have guys. There are other decisions to make. I keep talking about Lee McNeil. He's going to get between $15 and $20 million.
Yep.
How do you do that? Well, if you can do it, but delay when the hit takes place. If it comes in 2027 as opposed to 2026, and they're going to find ways to do it. I feel less confident now that the Commanders have the Lions cap guy, one of the cap guys.
Yeah.
But it's just it's the NFL. I mean, the cap keeps going up, and you've got to find your windows of opportunity here while you have the good players and while you have the space to do it. But it will close. It will definitely close. And I'm curious to see what the strategy is 4 years down the line. Is it going to be, are we going to see in the next couple of years, are they going to start trading away some players to get draft capital to replenish what they've done?
Third, fourth, fifth round picks don't cost nearly as much. If you load up on those, the hit rate is not as great, clearly, as if they have a bunch of first round picks. But if you have third, fourth, and fifth round picks, you don't have to pay them anything. And if you got to hit on enough, and hope that your high end players carry you. Now, the other thing about 2026, I don't anticipate this. I can't specifically say who it's going to be, but there's somebody right now on our roster that we really like as a player that in 2026 we probably won't.
Correct.
Yeah, that either gets ravaged by injuries or takes a step back, or a younger player is better than them and replaces him. And I think all parties involved, Goff, Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aleem McNeil, all these young players that we love and want to see signed long-term, you can almost guarantee that come 2026, one of those guys you're not going to want. It's just the way it is. And I don't know who it is, and I can't anticipate who it is, but there's going to be a lot of football to be played between now and then. And ideally, I guess, Mekhi Wingo, renders Aleem McNeil irrelevant. Example.
Yeah,
Example.
Broderick Martin.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just coming up with something of that nature. Antoine Green turns out to be elite. I'm grasping at straws, but you get the point.
No, I hear you. But how about that James Houston? But James Houston's coming up soon.
Yeah,
he's entering year 3 of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they have ways to do it. The other thing is, it's that patience and pounds thing I talk about. When it comes to free agency, they've done it well. They haven't gone and spent a whole lot of money on free agency, but they have gotten quality. At least on paper, it's been quality. So far over the last couple of years, it hasn't resulted on the field because the guys got hurt, right? Or it was just a flat out flop when it came to receivers the first offseason that they had to work with. But I have more confidence that Brad Holmes knows what he's doing, and that this patient approach, waiting for free agency to go through for a little bit, and then you can get guys on the cheap for 1-year deals. This is probably going to be the norm with this team. They're going to have to supplement their roster with a bunch of 1-year contracts for guys that are making the single $1 million digit deals.
So anyway, like I said, feels like the national media is catching up to something that we've been talking about, but it's 2-year window, 2-year obvious window, people. It gets tricky in year 3 moving forward. In the meantime, we have growing pains with the new world order of college football, but something happened today that I think will make it better. We will get to that today at 11:18 here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. So I turn to you, college football fan, and I say, do you like the game more or do you like the game less? Because I don't know that we've seen a sport transform quite as rapidly as college football has over the last 5 years. You can play at 4 schools in 4 years. You can get paid. Oregon at Rutgers is a conference game. There's a 12-team playoff. Recruiting, I don't even know what it is anymore. It's if somebody commits anymore to whatever school you're a fan of, it's like, okay, that's cool for the next 5 minutes, but the portal recruiting has become probably more important than high school recruiting.
And even that's only 1 year.
And even everything is year to year. And while this next story feels like one that it's, the sign the apocalypse is on us, I actually think it's the first sign of this getting reined in. There was a player named Jaden Rashada who committed to Florida and was promised a $13.85 million NIL deal. Now, I talked to coaches at more than one school, believe it or not, that talk about the portal and NIL, and it's not so much what the players are hearing. A big part of this is what their parents are hearing from representatives from schools. And there's a lot of promises that are being made that can't be kept. But apparently now we're going to court. Jaden Rashada is suing Florida coach Billy Napier, former Florida recruit Jaden Rashada is suing coach Billy Napier along with big-time Gator boosters and others, claiming they defrauded him out of millions of dollars by backing out of a promised $13.85 million agreement after the quarterback had turned down offers tied to other programs. Now, at this point, from a reasonable standpoint, like we can sit here and say, I hate the new world order of college football. But a story like this, that you can't go running around promising things to kids, I think is one of the ways that it starts to rein in what feels like a bit of a wild, wild west nature of this, in which there really is no structure. There really are no rules. There really is no monitoring system. But if you promise a player, if you come into some agreement, I don't know if it's verbal or if it was a signed deal. The lawsuit, I'm going to read because this just broke. The lawsuit filed Tuesday includes an allegation that Rashada signed a national letter of intent to Florida less than an hour after Napier promised the player's father a $1 million partial payment that day upon signing. Rashada never received the $1 million and the boosters never fulfilled the deal. Okay, so I mean, look, I don't like much of this. I say that this sport, when Saturdays roll around, I still love it. I still absolutely love it. From sunup to sundown. From the beginning of College Game Day, that theme song, they're coming to our city, to that Hawaii game on WADL, which doesn't exist anymore. But you get the point.